Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
My name is Alex Wade. As I said before, I'm here with Microsoft Research. And I wanted to sort of talk in two separate tracks. And if you put this along a continuum, it's things that we've been doing over the past couple of years and things that we're looking at doing now. So in the first example, oh lovely, I'm on slideshow mode here. In the first example, a lesson, first of all, I can let these flip through, it doesn't really matter. Word documents today are really just XML files and their friends. It can be whatever you want. It can be pictures, media, data sets, workflows, chemicals, all wrapped up in a tasty zip package. And so what we wanted to do in the Word environment was find a way that we could take the other bit, which is Word as a platform, which allows you to extend the UI, to put new ribbon interfaces in, to put new sidebars in, as a way of enabling authors to add some of this new content into the Word document environment. So Phil gave a demo earlier today about how they're doing semantic enrichment of already published documents. The idea with all of these examples here is how can we put the tools in front of the authors right now that allow them to not only get assistance in the authoring of their documents, but ideally provide them with some incentives and mechanisms for marking up the documents as they're doing them. So I'm not going to do a live demo of this one, but the general idea, just as Phil showed, taking the bio-ontologies and marking up the published literature that exists in the open access portion of PubMed Central, the idea here is that an author can bring down any number of OBO files from the bio-ontology portal, and as they're authoring their document, they are given areas where these match up, either because they're a match out of the ontology or regular expression matching, for example, with a protein ID. And then the author can say, yes, this term here in my document does in fact relate to that concept in the ontology. They can annotate the document, and that then gets stored as an XML annotation along with the document. Come in. Taking that concept one step further is something that we did with the chemistry space. So let me jump over to live demo here, if I may. That's not the one I wanted. Not seeing the same thing on my screen. This isn't great. Okay, so this is a new document. So the general idea is that as somebody is authoring a Word document now, and in this case, authoring a document about chemistry, what they're typically doing today is one of two things. They're either going to write out a bunch of strings, they're going to write out a chemical formula or the name of a chemical compound, and cutting and pasting bitmap images into the document, or they're going to be using something like ChemDraw, which is going to insert a binary object into the Word document. And what we wanted to be able to do is to allow the authors to very easily insert chemical structures into the Word document, so either by looking at a local library here, or by loading from online resources such as Opsin and ChemPub, or PubChem, sorry. And I can do a search here. This is going out over the web, finding a structure, bringing it into my document, not just putting a bitmapped image into the document, but actually putting something into the document that I can start to manipulate now. So if I want to take the labels off of this, I can do that. If I want to clean up the way this looks, I can do that. If I want to select the entire structure and rotate it so it looks a little bit better orientation of my document, I can do that and save this image back into the document itself, but more fundamentally, saving the underlying structure of this chemical compound as one of the components in this zip file, just like we were doing with the annotations. And if I in fact want to show this as a chemical formula, I can change the view on this. I can say that's really caffeine, or if I want to show this more in that format, I can do that. These are all just views, representations of that underlying content. Okay, third example then is moving on to the authoring space, and the general idea is, so from annotations of text to adding more semantic representations of objects in the document, the next idea then is how do I change the entire structure of my document? If I said that Office documents are XML inside a zip package, the primary XML object right now is an Office OpenXML document. It's the structure that is used by the Word application to render all of the formatting and all the structure of the document. But what if we want to start creating other document formats inside there? So what I'm going to do now is open up try that again, File, New, My Templates, and I'm going to open up a NLM DTD document. And this now allows the author to come in, have the same familiar Word environment, and have a sort of fill in the blanks approach here, where I can put in my title, I can put it in the abstract, and when I hit save, I can simply output this as an NLM XML file. And if I do a Julia Child here and put it in the oven, bake it for 45 minutes, it comes out looking like this. This is actually an NLM XML file that I've downloaded from PubMed Central and simply opened it back up in the tool. And we're doing a reverse transform of that into the Word format. And across the top then, you can start to see things like if I was authoring this document, here's how I would put in some supplementary data. Each one of these bits has its own metadata schema around it, so you can give figures a label. You can put in inline supplementary material. You can put in glossaries and verse text and all sorts of different things. And then lastly on this interface, we have built in a direct publishing pipeline. So what I can do, leveraging the SWORD protocol, is I can actually do a direct publish of this item into a repository or into a publisher's workflow. So I've sat here, I've authored my document, I can now say validate and publish, and what that's going to do is some client-side XML validation that says that this one, so I haven't configured a sort of endpoint on here. What I thought I was going to get was a validation error that might say author number 3 didn't have the author email address, or the introduction or the abstract section may have been missing a certain number of words if that was the XML validation that the person who provided me with this template wanted to have happen in the client. Oh, did it? Okay, so it also said that I didn't have an endpoint configured, so I didn't know where I wanted to upload it, so thank you. Okay, so full stop, incremental change here. How can we go from familiar authoring environment like Office? All these examples are in Word, but we can do the same things in Excel and in PowerPoint, making some incremental changes to enhance the types of things that are going into the document. The big problem is, I don't think we have nailed the author incentives. Why would I do this when today I can just write it in Word and I can upload it and the author will take care of that? So that's a big problem. The editor, yeah, exactly. Or B, there isn't anybody on the other end who is requesting these or taking this data and doing creative things with it. So these are all available as free downloads for the Office environment right now. Even if you're not interested in the NLM, DTD, or bio-ontologies or chemistries, the same concept can apply in a lot of different domains. Okay, with 2 minutes left then, the future. What if, instead of giving an author that to fill in, we give an author that instead? And building off the ideas that Moshe had up here and Phil talked about with Sci-V is either instead of or in addition to the document, the textual representation that's produced today, and stealing heavily from the ideas, those of you familiar with Worldwide Telescope, of providing a tour. How can we allow the narrative to start taking place here? And this is very similar to what Moshe showed before, in that the author, and I don't have the volume up on here, but the author is giving a narrative account of the experiment that they did. They're talking through the paper saying, here's what I did at this phase. But where this starts becoming more interesting, I'll actually jump over to a different example here, is 1 minute. Excellent. Where this starts becoming more interesting is that this is not just a video. Just like when we talk about the Word documents being a package here, This is a container, and it's a container not just of objects, not just of a PDF and some data sets, but these are a container, this is a container of other applications. So in this case, it's calling into Bing Maps and showing you the location of this archaeologic dig. You can also bring in other videos. You can bring in 3D applications. If I jump ahead here, you can see the use of something like photosynth as a way of visualizing the actual dig site here. And if I, as an end user, get tired of watching the author's narration of this, I can actually dig in and I can start interacting with, in this case, a three-dimensional model of this particular dig, or if I want to look at the underlying data set that went into this, or going back to what David was talking about, if we want to put workflows and data in here, we can wrap all that up as well. And with that, I'm done.